Welcome to episode 99 of That's a Freebie, the podcast that hasn't published an episode in weeks.
Sit back, relax, unless you're driving. It's time for That's a Freebie.
It's been a while. I don't even have any excuses. I have reasons, but, same thing, really. Basically, I just haven't had time. I've completely had no time whatsoever to get an episode published, edited, and out. I started recording an episode about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now. I got about a quarter of the way through the recording and someone knocks on the door and it turned out to be a load of family that I couldn't really ignore, unfortunately. So I had to stop the recording and that's it. I just haven't had time since. Everything is back to normal now, though. That's what I like to let myself believe. I guess we will wait and see. I do have a big announcement this episode, but we'll come back to that in a little while. First of all, I've got a couple of stories for you, because that's what this podcast is all about, isn't it? So the first one is a pretty quick one, and it's more of a how stupid is this situation rather than a story, let's say. A few weeks ago, well, probably like 4 or 5 weeks ago now, my daughter was sick. She woke up in the morning, she said she had a tummy ache. She says she has a tummy ache every morning because she doesn't want to go to school. Or, as we keep telling her, she's probably dehydrated because she's terrible at drinking water. No matter how often we are throwing water at her, not literally, obviously, she just doesn't drink it. It's really hard to get her to drink anything, let alone just water. But she said she had a tummy ache. I believed her, but I wasn't 100% convinced it was anything worthy of not going to school. Because usually she says she has a tummy ache. By the time she's walking through the school gates and she's met up with her friends, she's skipping and dancing. It was just one of those situations where I was like, yeah, well, come on, let's go. And she was a little bit slower this morning, I've got to admit. I was a bit not 100% sure quite how bad it was. And I was off that day anyway, so I figured send her into school. If necessary, I can always go and pick her up. So I told her, if anything happens, you're not feeling well, just let me know and I'll come and pick you up. Obviously tell the teachers first. And so she goes to school. She seemed like she was all right by the time she got to school. Everything was as normal. As I was waiting outside the other school to drop the boy off, we're there half an hour earlier because we've just dropped the girl off. So we're sat outside, we're chatting away. We usually watch some sort of video. Usually we watch a gameplay of somebody playing Dungeons and Dragons campaign that we've already played, just to see how they did it differently to we did. So we're sat there watching, and I get a text message from her saying, Dad, I really don't feel well. Dad, I think I'm going to be sick. I messaged her back and said, well, if you're not feeling well, let your teachers know and they'll know what to do. I got an okay back, and then 2 minutes later, the phone rang and it said the name of the school on the screen. I was like, well, that was quick. So I answered the phone. And they said, yeah, I'm just wondering if you could come and pick her up. She's been sick. So still in disbelief that she was not well, I said, have you actually seen her be sick, or has she just told you she's been sick? And she's like, oh, no, we saw it. She's been sick 3 times. I'm like, oh, no, okay. So I felt bad at this point. So I went to get her. She comes skipping out of school, really happy, like, gets in the car. She goes, Dad, I feel great now. I just needed to be sick. I'm like, brilliant. So we went home, absolutely fine. Nothing wrong. She was all better because she'd thrown up. And then came lunchtime, and I said to her, what would you like for lunch? And she said, I think I'll just eat some soup because I've been sick and I don't want to be sick again. Like, that's a wise choice. Made her some soup, brought her the bowl. She immediately threw up as soon as she saw it. I thought, okay, great. I've just realised that all this sounds like I'm about to say she's pregnant. Because it sounds like morning sickness, doesn't it? And it sounds like sickness from just seeing the sight of food. Well, guess what? No, it's not that. It's not that at all. God, that'd be terrifying if that was the case. She's only 11. So anyway, she threw up, and so she didn't go into school. Anyway, day after comes along. We know she can't go into school because she's been sick the day before. They have a 48-hour policy, right? This comes into play in just a few moments. So I wasn't able to go into work that day. Actually, I don't think that's what happened. I think this was I'm telling a lie there. I was able to go into work that day. We were actually able to get somebody to come and look after her, which is really rare. It's really hard to get people to come and have her because Most of our family have got their own children, they live further away, all that kind of stuff. But no, this instance, we actually managed to find someone who could come and watch her for the day, and it worked out fine. So she was okay all that day, came to the day after, and I thought to myself, well, surely she could go back into school now because she's been off for 2 days. It's a 48-hour policy. So I rang the school and said, just to double check, we couldn't find on the website anywhere what the actual policy was. I said she was sick, blah, blah, blah. And they said, well, what time was she sick? So I said, well, looking at my phone, I got the phone call from school at 8:52, right? School starts at 8:45, so they'd been there 10 minutes. And they said, oh, well, no, because she was sick 10 minutes into the school day, so she's got to take another day off. So she ended up having to take off 3 days from school because she was sick on one day, which boggles the mind. I understand the 48 hours thing, but it was 48 hours, 10 minutes after school started. So I said, well, can I not just bring her in at 9 o'clock? Because 48 hours are over. They said, no, we class it as the full day. If she'd have been sick before she started school, it would be all right. But because she came into school, it's classed as you have to take the full day off, which I think personally is stupid. But hey, she got 3 days off school just before Christmas. She enjoyed it. It wasn't her fault. She was more than happy to go back to school. She even did homework. It was great. We just got to hang out, watch some TV for a couple of hours. For a couple of days. Because the first day and the last day were both my days off, so it worked out well for me. Never usually get just me and her time, so it was nice. However, still stupid that she couldn't go back to school. A few weeks ago, this is one of the other reasons I've struggled to record, I had COVID. I had it pretty badly. It was awful. I had it for about 2 weeks. Realistically, I probably had it for about a week and a half, and the rest of it was just getting over it. I've had COVID before, and it's never been as bad as this. This was the type where you fully lose your taste, you lose your sense of smell. I had no energy, everything ate. It felt like flu, but I actually failed a COVID test, so it was actually COVID. Either way, still awful. But of course, I didn't want to go out because I didn't want to infect other people. I didn't want to go out because going out was really difficult. It wasn't fun at all. So I decided on the last few days of it, when I was just getting over it, I decided I needed like a big breakfast. Like I wanted like a full English, but where you go to a place and it's just a stupid amount of food and there's no way you can finish it. I wanted that. But I didn't want to go anywhere because I just didn't have the energy. And again, I was still a bit sick. So I decided to order a breakfast from like a local deli. Now, I've had food from here before. When I was looking at the menu online, I remembered that they do really good sandwiches. Like usually I get a Vienna roll with bacon, sausage, cheese and beans. And it's great. It's absolutely great. And it's massive. And they make it just right. They strain the beans first so that it's not just bean juice soaking into the bread. So it's not dead soggy. It's perfect. So I ordered that. The problem with this is, to order for delivery, there is a minimum amount. And I think the minimum amount is £15, which is a lot for one sandwich. The sandwich itself was like £6. So I had to order a few things. So I ordered the breakfast sandwich. I ordered a chicken and stuffing sandwich to have later in the day. And I ordered a coffee. And I think I ended up having to order like a bottle of Lucasade as well, which, great, if you're not feeling well. Lucasade Original is the best thing to have. I know all of you listening to this are going, no, it's Lucasade Orange. Lucasade Orange sucks. I will fight you on that one. Anyway, it arrived. I was so excited. They wrap it in foil. I wasn't quite ready to eat it, so I left it in the foil for a little bit so it'd stay warm. I can't remember why I wasn't ready to eat it. I was in the middle of doing summer. I can't remember what it was. I might have been cleaning the rabbit's hutch or something like that. I can't remember. But either way, I left it in the foil, which is partially a mistake. Finally, was ready to eat it. I unwrapped it. They had done the strangest thing I've ever seen. I can only assume that it was somebody new working there who has never made this type of sandwich before and wondered why would somebody want beans on a sandwich, because it was bacon, it was sausage, They forgot the cheese, which, fine, not the end of the world. I'm lactose intolerant. I shouldn't be eating cheese anyway, so... But then they'd closed the sandwich up and poured the beans on top of it. Just on top of the sandwich, and then wrapped it in foil. So, of course, it was getting soggier and soggier by the minute. The longer I left it in that foil, the more soggy it got. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I ended up having to get a spatula from the kitchen and use that to slop it onto a plate and then eat it with a knife and fork, because there was no other way it was possible to eat. Now, don't get me wrong, it tasted great, because it's just the same thing as it normally is. It's just everything's in a different order. It tasted really good, but it wasn't a sandwich at that point. It was more like, God, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just a soggy mess, but it was nice. Anyway, that was my sandwich story. Are you not entertained? And all of this, of course, brings us to Christmas Day. The plan this year for Christmas Day was that we were going to arise and shine, say 9 o'clock, usually when we wake up between 8:30 and 9 on Christmas Day. First thing we do is me or my wife make coffee, because that is the most important thing of any day. We normally let them open the stockings, they go and get dressed, and then we go to church for 9:30. Actually, that's not right. It's 10 o'clock, I think, is usually when we go. And then we spend half an hour there. We exchange presents with everybody there, and then we come back. And then we normally pick up my wife's mum or my mother-in-law, the same person, and then we bring her back with us, and then we do the rest of the presents while we're getting Christmas dinner ready. Usually, people come round, well, not usually, but often the rest of the family come round to our house to drop presents off, or we go there first before we come back. This was a year where we were going to go there first. However, everything went a little bit wrong. We got up late. We didn't get up till about 10 o'clock. No idea how. None of us wanted to get up at 10 o'clock. We were more than happy to stay in bed, but we knew it was Christmas Day, so we were all sort of pondering around the house going, yeah, we should get up now, shouldn't we? So we came downstairs. We knew we'd missed church at this point, so we just decided to go all in and do all the presents. And we did. We did all the presents. That then meant that, by 11 o'clock, we'd opened everything. Normally, we'd already be on the move by this point, but we hadn't even got dressed. We all just sat there eating breakfast and essentially pretty much falling asleep. We were very tired, all of us. But, fine. It's Christmas Day. Do what you want. Yeah. We decided to just have a relaxing day, but we needed to go and pick the mother-in-law up, and we needed to nip across to the rest of the families. Now, this is the family on my wife's side that we would be going to. They're more local than my family. I don't think we could fit both in one day, to be honest. Well, we definitely couldn't when you hear the rest of this story. So we decided to call my mother-in-law and let her know where we're up to, and she was also only just got up as well, because we hadn't rung her to get her up. And then we went and got her. We went across. So the whole plan was we were all going to meet at one of their houses, because one particular member of the family wasn't able to, it wasn't as easy for them to travel because of the number of kids they've got fitting in the car and all that kind of stuff. And they're younger. Anyway, that didn't happen. We went to a different house for some reason. I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea why we did it this way, but it turned out that they'd all decided they weren't going to go to one another's houses. So we went to one of them, and one of the other members of the family turned up, but didn't bring the stuff for our house. So we still had to go to their house afterwards. So we were there about an hour and a half while everybody was exchanging presents. And I was like, we need to go. We need to go. We need to go. There's not enough time to be sitting here for an hour and a half. Anyway, an hour and a half passes. We then goes to the other house. We gets there, and the first thing the mother-in-law says is, "Are you making a cup of tea?" I was like, no, whoa. We haven't got time for a cup of tea, right? We've already spent an hour and a half with them at the other house. We've just come here to exchange bags, right? That's all we're doing. We're just exchanging presents. And then, because we've got another house to go to yet. So anyway, about 20 minutes to half an hour later, which annoying, but not that bad. We're finally on the move again. So we go to the other house. Now, bearing in mind, these people all live within a minute's walk to each other. But we are having to drive around them, right? Instead of everyone just meeting in one place. I get it. Everyone wants to do their own thing on Christmas. That's fine. But it was extremely difficult for us, which I don't like, obviously. Who wants it to be difficult on Christmas Day? So by this point, we get to the final house. It's already 3 o'clock, which is the time that I wanted to start making Christmas dinner. Bear in mind, Christmas dinner takes about 2 hours to cook. On the meat takes 2 hours. It actually took a whole lot longer than that because of we were having a starter. There's all kinds of other things to go. Blah blah blah. Right. So gets to their house at about 3 o'clock, and again, the first thing the mother-in-law says is, "Are you putting the kettle on?" I was like, "No, no, there is not enough time to have another cup of tea. You've had about 7. You could have one when you get to our house." And she's the kind of person that's always got to have a cup of tea in her hand. She carries a big plastic cup around with her, and it's always got tea in it. No matter what, if the second it runs out, wherever she is, she's walking up to someone going, "Tea, I need tea in here." It's just, I don't know, I don't get it, but that's what she does. We always wonder how on earth she isn't just always peeing. But this is what happens, right? So, we're there. Everybody's exchanging presents. We're opening them. It's fine. Better than doing it at home, right? Get it out the way. This should only take like half an hour, though. It didn't just take half an hour. It took a lot longer. We finally got home to our own house at 5 o'clock. Hadn't even started Christmas dinner. Hadn't eaten a single thing all day. We'd had no breakfast. We'd had no dinner. I was starving and I was grumpy and I'd had enough. I was ready to just say, let's get McDonald's. But obviously we couldn't because it's Christmas Day. We want Christmas dinner. And also, it probably wasn't open. I didn't even check. I'm glad I didn't check because I probably would have done it. And so I start Christmas dinner, right? 2 hours later, so what time did I say it was? I said it was 5 o'clock. So 7 o'clock, we finally starts eating our Christmas dinner. Well, I realised at the very near the end of the making of the dinner, I'd forgotten to make Yorkshire puddings. So I was like, can we do without them? And everyone was like, no, we want Yorkshire puddings. Like, okay. Turns out I do make the best Yorkshire puddings. So that's why they want them. I can't begrudge them my Yorkshire puddings, so I start making them. Now, I'd had the tray in the oven the entire time because that's the best way to make sure your Yorkshire puddings rise is you get that oil as hot as you can. I mean, there's probably a recommended temperature, but I just leave it in there for the entire thing, get it as hot as I can, and it works fine. So anyway, everything's ready. I just needed to make the mix. So I'm making the Yorkshire pudding mix. You probably think it's going to be a story about eggs, isn't it? It's not. There's nothing gross about the eggs at all. I managed to get that done because I was so focused. I didn't even care. I just smashed the eggs into the jug and made it, right? Plus the Yorkshire puddings in, I went to put the Yorkshire puddings in, realised there wasn't going to be enough room because of the shelf. So I decided I had to lift the shelf up one notch. Because to move the shelf, and I did think, but I just didn't do it, of taking the tray off it first that had the roast potatoes on it. Now, the roast potatoes had been in about half an hour at this point. So they were just at the point where they'd started to cook. They were no longer just potatoes. They were starting to roast. If they just needed a little bit longer, they would have been done. Anyway, I pulled the tray out. The potatoes slid off the tray, all over the floor, ruined. I got so angry at these potatoes that I started stamping on them with bare feet in red hot oil. And I'm just stamping away on these potatoes going, I've had enough of this. My wife comes in, she goes, what the hell is wrong with you? And I told her, and she's like, and she obviously started laughing because it was funny. I'm like, it's not funny. And then in my head, I'm like, this is hilarious. So anyway, my mother-in-law goes, well, I can't not have potatoes. So I was like, all right. So I picked up the remainder of the potatoes, washed them in the sink, threw them back in the pan and roasted them up. And I only gave them to her. None of us had roast potatoes. My wife doesn't like them anyway. The kids didn't want them because they'd been on the floor. I didn't want them because they'd been on the floor. I'd been walking around in that kitchen in my shoes earlier on in the day. I did not want to eat some of them being on that floor. And anyway, you'd think that was it. That was the worst part, right? Everything went fine after that. No, it didn't. Of course it didn't. Why would it go fine? No. I burnt the goddamn Yorkshire puddings because I forgot about them, didn't I? We sat there eating away at our starter, which was pate on different types of breads and toast and all that kind of stuff. And I burnt the Yorkshire puddings. Just enough that they were, you could class them as burnt, but not so that they were inedible. But they weren't great. They were terrible. I did not enjoy them one bit. So anyway, by 7 o'clock, we're finally eating our Christmas dinner. Actually, it was probably even later than that. We'd eaten our Christmas dinner. It was the most unsatisfying meal I had all year. I just did not enjoy it one bit. I was just annoyed at it. Took the mother-in-law home, came home, we played a couple of games, went to bed. I just had enough of Christmas Day at that point. Okay, so at the beginning of the show, I said that I am going to have a big announcement today. And I do. And I'm not going to beat around the bush. I will just tell you right away now that next week's episode of That's a Freebie will be the final episode of That's a Freebie. There will be no more That's a Freebie after it. I'm not kidding. It's not a joke. That genuinely, I'm going to stop at episode 100. I put a lot of thought into this. I actually made the decision about 2 months ago. The reason I've decided to end it is because, well, it was always supposed to be an experiment. You know, the whole point of it was to experiment with the equipment, see, can I do it? Is it something that I'm willing to do? I'm willing to put the effort in. And the answer is yes, absolutely. It is something I can do and want to put the effort in. And I've got all the equipment that I need to do it. Could that equipment be better? Absolutely. But it doesn't really matter at this point. But the show has evolved many, many times since I started it. It's not what it originally was. It's not what I originally set it out to be, which is fine. That's okay. That may be that what I originally set out to be wasn't right for this show. I don't know. What I discovered early on is that making shorter episodes didn't work for me because it wasn't worth setting up for a 5-minute recording or a 10-minute recording at that. Sometimes it's not worth setting up for a 30-minute recording, whatever it is, because it requires a lot of setup, it requires a lot of planning, all that kind of stuff. And something I've noticed over time is that the show has gone more to this whole me telling stories rather than having specific segments to it where I do the same things each week, as you will know if you've been a long-time listener. And I like the storytelling aspect of it. That's what I originally started out to do. But what I've found now is I'm finding it difficult to fit the stories in. So something might happen, like this week, for example. There might be a story that comes up this week that I want to tell on the podcast, but I've already got something planned for the podcast this week. And so it's better to save that story for the next episode. And this whole, like a specific release schedule is the thing that's getting in the way. So I thought to myself, well, how about instead of having a specific release schedule, how about I just make it an ad hoc show? I release an episode when I can release an episode. I don't worry about recording and publishing on a specific date. That's what my more structured shows are going to be about, which are still in the works, by the way. I realise I said they'd be out in January, which may still be a possibility. There's just been a few things that have gotten in the way of it. Mostly the fact that I haven't had enough time to actually do any recording or editing. But that's all changed now. So hopefully we might get somewhere. But that's a story for another time and another show. You'll get that one in a minute. And so I decided that, well, what I'd like to do is basically have a show where if I've got a story to tell, I just pop my microphone out, I tell the story and publish it. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes long. It doesn't have to be 5 minutes long. It could be 40 seconds long. It could be 10 seconds long. It could be 5 minutes long. It can be whatever it needs to be for that story that I need to tell or that thought that I need to get out, which was what the podcast was always going to be. Now, the thing that's changed mostly is I've now got a new microphone that is more portable. It is actually a portable microphone. Technology has moved on. It's as good as my standalone microphone, or almost as good as. Recording software has moved on. There's now services like Riverside that you can use to record remotely onto your phone using all of their built-in tools and things like that. There's a lot that's changed, and it means I can do that. So I decided a few months ago that what I was going to do is pivot the show to be a bit more like what it was originally supposed to be. But then I also decided that, like this year, I want to try and grow my listener base. And I want to do that using the other podcasts I'm doing because they're more structured. They're going to have more of a specific, what's the term I'm looking for? They're going to have more of a specific format to them. They're going to have a story. Each one is going to be about a topic. So I figured I could use them to help grow this one, because this podcast was always going to be the behind the scenes, the look at me, the look at the life of a random person on the internet, the thing where I get to promote my other stuff and things like that. And so that's what it'll become. But I then decided, well, actually, do I want to turn That's a Freebie into that? Because it's not great for discoverability because of the name of it. That's a Freebie isn't something that people are going to be looking for. And so I decided what I would do is end That's a Freebie and start a new show. And that's what I'm going to do. The new show is going to be called Hey, It's Diggy. Makes it a little easier to find if you're looking specifically for me. I mean, not many people are going to be looking specifically for me on the internet. However, it does make it a bit more discoverable for the future. The website is now heyitsdiggy.com. I'm unifying everything to be one singular place. Now, what does that mean for That's a Freebie other than it's closing down? Because you also got to think of this That's a Freebie Plus for our subscribers. You may have noticed as a Plus subscriber that I paused payments at the beginning of December. Actually, it was middle of November. So That's a Freebie Plus shouldn't have taken any payments in the last month. And what I will do is probably at the end of this month, just to make sure it doesn't mess with anything and make sure everybody's heard this show and the final show, I will switch all of the previous That's a Freebie Plus episodes to free on the Patreon. So you will actually be able to just go on my Patreon and listen to any previous episodes that you might have missed the Plus sections on. So feel free to do that. And I will be cancelling any subscriptions. So if you get a notification saying your subscription's cancelled, don't worry. It was supposed to happen because I'm no longer gonna have a paid service. I will do in the future. I'm sure something will happen where I will try and monetize the new podcasts that are coming out. Probably not the Hey It's Diggy one, because that's going to be short. Now, if you want a taster of what Hey It's Diggy is going to be like, head to the show notes, and there's a link there to the Hey It's Diggy podcast, because I have not recorded it yet. However, I am committing now to saying the first episode will be out by the time this is released. You'll be able to go to it. Now, if you for whatever reason you can't go to the show notes right now, all you need to do is go to either heyitsdiggy.com, there'll be a link on there, or just search Hey It's Diggy in your podcast player of choice. Now, I am just double checking something actually, and I'm gonna fill the time while I check it. Yeah, I thought that was the case. Hey It's Diggy is going to be all one word. So all you do is just type it in as HEYITSDIGGI. That's what you search, and that'll get you the podcast. Now, if for some reason it doesn't show up, it's not because I haven't done it. I will have done it. I'm not going to upload this episode until I've done it. Sometimes, though, when a new show is added to podcast directories, it takes a few days for them to show up. So do go back and check. That will be the new show going forward. Now, for a lot of you, nothing's going to change because it's the same show that I'm doing now, but it's going to be, like, for example, today, the 3 stories that I told at the start would have been 3 separate episodes. And I may have released them all in one day. I may have released them across the course of 1 week. I may have released them over the course of 3 weeks. But the plan is to release it, when I have something I want to talk about, record it and release it. I'm not going to have a specific time of day. I'm just going to release when I can. But it also means that if I need to take some time off, I can just take some time off. It doesn't matter. There isn't going to be that release schedule to worry about, which is the thing that sometimes makes it difficult. I'm not in a position where I have the time to record very often, other than my days off. And having to record and plan a full podcast and record several episodes a week can be difficult at times, which has been getting in the way of being able to record new episodes of Law and Disorder, which is why I've not been able to release them yet. So the whole thing should make a little bit of space, but not stop the podcast from happening. So do it now. Go to heyitsdiggy.com or the show notes, subscribe to the new podcast. There is an episode already up, which is an introductory episode. So it's just going to be basically what I've just told you now, but for new listeners. On top of that, the next episode is going to be a special yearly episode where I will be doing an award show called the Diggies. It's a bit later this year than I would have liked it to be, but it's because of having to wait for this episode to be released before I could do it. So head over there now, subscribe, and I will see you on the new show. There'll be one more episode of That's a Freebie next week, because if you recall, I have promised all along that when it comes to the final episode of the show, I will tell you the joke that spawned the inspiration for the name of the podcast. Okay? So next week, I will do nothing other than tell you that joke. And without further ado, here is this week's joke. Two men are out walking their dogs when one turns to the other and he says, "I could really use a beer." His friend says, "There's a pub down the street, but they won't let us in with dogs, right?" He says, "Just follow my lead." The man heads to the entrance of the pub and is immediately stopped by a bouncer who tells him, "No dogs allowed in the bar, mate." And the man says with his eyes closed smoothly, But sir, this is my seeing eye dog." And he's let in and he goes to the bar. His friend is like, "Wow, I can't believe I never thought of that." Quick thinking, he follows suit. And as he stopped, he says, "What are you talking about? This pet is my seeing eye dog." And the bouncer says, "Chihuahua?" And without missing a beat, the guy goes, "You what? They gave me a fucking chihuahua?" Before I sign off, I do just want to say thank you very much for listening. Thank you for all of the feedback that you sent in. Thank you for all the times you've commented on the YouTube channel and all the emails that I've received. I do really appreciate you all, and I hope you all move over to Hey It's Diggy, and I will see you all on the other side.